Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Smart Money Group and Kennedy Financial Services in Eastland, Texas. Tune in every week as we share important information to help you and your family live life on purpose. Insurance, investments, legacy and tax planning, and much more. All covered now on Life Planning 101.
Here we are with another episode of Black and White Market Chatter on Life Planning 101. Matt Irvin and Aaron Kennedy with you today to talk about a little bit about what's going on in the market. You know, we sit here and we look at charts and kind of ponder, and it looks like the market's a little bit confused. Is that right, Aaron?
Oh, man. That's kind of an understatement. We've had so much going on, and, you know, it doesn't matter what channel you put it on the TV, you're going to hear something that's just going to scare you to death. A lot of it's just talking points. A lot of it we go through every single year.
Right.
So I just kind of wanted to weed through some of those. Maybe touch on what in the world's going on here very, very recently. Because things are changing. Things are changing really, really quickly. So,
yeah, it's been kind of wild because some of the things that are still leading year to date aren't necessarily leading through the month, and then there's outliers. And you know, I know that's where you specialize so much is in that level of detail. But it's just kind of interesting to see the winners and the losers, right, of these different time frames.
Oh yeah, you know, going back to the beginning of the year, tech's been knocking it out of the park. Technology's up 19, NASDAQ's up 19, consumer discretionary, it's up, 17 or 18%. So all the high-tech names are just going through the roof. But, you know, if you go back, I think we touched on this last time, even last February until now, there hasn't been a whole lot of movement. Almost all of that growth took place in, you know, the first 30 to 40 days of the year. But what's been really interesting is over the last 30 days, it's been a complete flip-flop. You know, everybody is trying to pull risk from their portfolio, and we're seeing people move into your traditional safety havens.
Sure.
You know, energy's a big one. We know that. It's not traditionally a safe haven, but that's our leader going into the last 30 days. And then we got utilities, healthcare, consumer staples, you know, the things that people go to that you're going to need regardless. Those are really what have been working. What's dragging up the bottom? Technology. NASDAQ technology's up 1.5 to 2.2, you know, while utilities are up almost 10. So where are people going?
Yeah.
They're trying to figure out what's safe and what's going to be working and where to stay out of.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting.
Well, and so, you know, it was very easy to stay in the more growth-centered stuff when we thought this was going to last about 5 minutes, right?
Oh, yeah.
But now that Powell is being pretty resilient in his speech,
yes,
you know, inflation's coming down a little bit, but we're still seeing it.
We're still there, still seeing it. The numbers are looking better, but right now our year-over-year inflation rates are somewhere around 5%, which is fantastic. But that's April of 2022 until April of 2023. You know, there's been no reversal. It's still growing, just not at the double-digit rates that we were in. So there's a big question. Is the Fed working, or is supply letting up, or what exactly is going on? Well, what do we have to continue to do?
Yeah, well, you know, you look at consumers, and I see it from, like, you know, walking down the street and seeing people. For instance, there was an auction at our church this weekend, and they said it didn't do near as good as last year, and you know, something that is home. That's our home. It's in our town. And people don't have the direction of what's going to happen over the next 12 months. So even some of their, like, we're trying to send kids to camp, and it's still, they're a little bit hesitant to give it all away at this very moment. I mean, those kids will get taken care of. But my point is lack of direction creates nervousness.
Yes, that's exactly right. And how much of this economic slowdown is going to be towards that? Not real demand, but fear.
Yeah.
Fear of spending money. So it's going to be really...
Well, you nailed it. You turn on the news, it's something spooky, something scary, and then the people that are trying to make a living in this have a deal. Too good to be true. Car prices have gone up a little bit, so it's like people are feeling kind of okay. Maybe I can buy a car. And then it's like, hey, you're still going to give 8 or 9% interest on that thing. So it's a really, really tough challenge. So we talk about all these individual feelings and views and what we're hearing out there, and you extrapolate that over the millions of people. The market's feeling it.
The market's feeling it, yeah, and we are seeing employment numbers change pretty drastically. People are letting people go. They are trying to buckle down, and this all works its way through. It all works its way through the economy. Maybe not the day that it's announced, but over a 6 to 18 month period, people losing their jobs, that's money that's not going to be spent. That's output that's just not going to happen. So it does slow things down.
Yep. Well, let's take a quick break right there, and we'll be right back with you on the next segment of Black and White Market Chatter on Life Planning 101. And we're back with the second piece of today's episode of Black and White Market Chatter on Life Planning 101. We were talking about some of the sentiment we're feeling and some of the market having trouble digesting. Aaron, let's get into a few of the things that are new going on. We have a whole list of things, but talk to us a little bit about the budget. The budget's a big topic right now. Spending, government spending. What happens if we pass it? What happens if we don't? Most people, I believe, when it comes to congressional people, are saying they need to pass the budget.
Yes,
it needs to happen.
And this is political grandeur. We do this every year. We're going to get into a big fight. The media is going to step out and say, hey, this one political party is trying to tear down the United States. And there's going to be a big fight until it finally passes.
Right.
There's going to be more pork inside of that bill than all of our grocery stores combined.
Right. That's right.
One party's going to get the spending that they want, and we're going to hold our country hostage until we get it.
Yeah.
One thing to think about here is if we default, what happens? If our dollar crashes, if we lose the reserve status on the world and our money's not trusted at all, what happens to every job in Washington?
I can't even wrap my head around that.
I can tell you, if they can't spend a penny, they can't be there. There's no reason for us to have those people out there spending that kind of money if they can't raise the debt, if they can't pass the taxes. It's got to get done. They have got to pass that budget, and they will. They're not going to bankrupt. They're not going to forfeit their jobs.
Well, just
it's grandstanding.
Yeah, and just to think about, I mean, when you hear those, because what had happened, was it 2 years ago, I believe, that they didn't pass the budget and the government offices shut down. Like, that had a real effect on people's lives. I mean, and it's like, okay, it's going to pass. It will pass. It did go through. I think they were off work 2 days or something like that. But it's, so that's why I say I have trouble wrapping my mind around that, because it goes to how many people does that affect? I mean, it affects everyone.
Yes.
But it affects some people immediately, where some people it affects, after a certain amount of time. But nonetheless,
it does affect. Short term, I think the biggest effect is mostly fear. There might be some contracts out there that are busted over this. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, if you're a government employee, you're going to get paid back.
So
how many federal holidays do you get anyway?
Fine.
So
here I am feeling bad for those folks. I mean, there are
two extra. They should be okay.
Yeah, get a couple extra days.
But they got to pass it.
Spend time with your family. Yeah. Anyway, that you're right. You're absolutely right. And I think something interesting too, and kind of switching gears, is China. They teamed up with a couple of countries. I say it, that kind of sounds like a downplay. I think you said it's about 30% of the world's economy.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's big enough. Don't get me wrong. And what we're talking about is pricing oil in something other than U.S. dollars.
Yeah.
So very recently, if you wanted oil, if you wanted to heat your country, put fuel in your electrical generator, your vehicles, whatever it is, you had to buy U.S. dollars and then use those U.S. dollars to go buy oil. So it propped up the dollar, supply and demand. And if we're demanding dollars for barrels of oil, price of U.S. dollar goes up. Well, they've come out with this new partnership where oil is going to be priced in different currencies, whether it's the Chinese yuan, the Russian ruble, whatever that might be. And it's going to be significant, but I don't know about the fear, because it is about 30% of the U.S. Or the world's revenue. But you got two main things. One is oil. Mm-hmm. If you knock Saudi Arabia out of there, that reduces that revenue by a lot. And you have China's exports. They're doodads. So that's a lot. But here's what, this could backfire on them in a hurry. Let's say we turned on all the drilling powers of the U.S., mm-hmm. of Central America, of North America. If we could get that going, we could get prices back down pretty quickly, and that's going to remove the majority of the power from Saudi Arabia, especially if we're willing to undercut that to fuel Japan, to fuel Europe. All we got to do is put 2 to 3 times as many rigs out there in West Texas, and we should be blowing and going in 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it could backfire on them.
Well, and so that's the driver, is just the price, the current price.
Yes.
Right? That's the only thing holding this up. Because it didn't seem to happen when oil was at $30 or $40 or $50, right? This wasn't a conversation. But now that oil's, I think, what's at mid to high 70s, now we're in conversation.
Yeah. Well, Russia's not supposed to be selling any kind of energy products around the world. Mm-hmm. So they also froze a bunch of their bank accounts. So how does Russia get around that? They have to sell their assets to somebody. Right. So they're putting it together on how to do it.
I see.
And you have the group that is partnering, and then you have other countries, kind of like India, that are saying, hey guys, I need oil, and that's the best price out there, and that's where I'm going.
Yeah. So, you get what you get, you don't throw a fit.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Aaron, let's take another quick break. There's one more thing I want to touch on before we enter our next segment, but let's take another quick break to get us wrapped up today here on Black and White Market Chatter on Life Planning 101. Back for our final piece of today's episode of Black and White Market Chatter on Life Planning 101. We're talking about China and Russia and the budget. And one other thing I want to touch on is the new mortgage laws. You brought that up the other day, subprime lending. That may put a little pressure on the interest rate environment. And if I'm following it right, you're unincentivized to be a good steward of your capital?
That's the way it's kind of looking right now. What we're talking about is there's a new law that's about to go into effect that if you have a good credit score, your interest rate is going to be higher. If you can put money down to purchase your house, your interest rate's going to be higher. If you have the income to service your loan or make your mortgage payments, your interest rate's going to be higher.
Sounds like backwards day.
It's exactly backwards. So the less risk, the more responsible you are, the more you stay within your means, the more expensive it's going to be.
That's wild.
This is throwing everybody for a loop, really, because we did really try this back in 2008, where it was the ninja rules: no income, no job, we'll give you a house. and those blew up. It dang near took down the entire financial system.
Right.
So we're right back to doing that again. And it's not significant like we're saying, hey, if you can't afford this, we're going to give you 1% interest. And if you can, it's 7.5%. No, it's like 7.5 to 6.5. But it's still a punishment for doing what you've been told to do all your life. So I don't really know how this is going to stand up at the Supreme Court level. And one other thing to kind of think about when people are talking about this is an order for the bank to sell it back to Freddie Mac or Fannie. These government institutions. So if they're buying back the debt, then you have to abide by these rules. But it doesn't say anything about credit unions or conventional mortgages that are not being sold. That's probably going to be a really big boom for them. Mm-hmm. Hey, come, let us loan your mortgage. I'll
hold it.
I will hold it for you, and you will get a much better deal. Because those private, unless you can sell it, you're just adding more risk to your bank's balance sheet, and no bank wants that right now. That's why it's only if you can sell it to the Federal Reserve or the federal government. So.
Well, and you think about, a 30-year mortgage, but there was a gentleman that come and spoke with us the other night, and one of the things he shared was that the average mortgage was like 6 or 7 years. People, it's not just people moving because of a job. It's, hey, I've been at my job 7 years. I made more money. I had 2 kids. I need a bigger house. So you kind of forget about some of those reasons why you upgrade. But I thought that was super interesting. Banks going back to be willing to hold the 30-year mortgage. Because someone has the right, if they are approved for the loan, it's going to get good standing. They have the right to pay it out over 30 years.
Yes.
Even if the average is 7. So that's a big ask for the banks. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. And of course, it's projected to start around the 1st of May. Is that right? And like you touched on earlier, it's going to get appealed. Supreme Court, there's people fighting it, so nothing as of right now today, there's what it looks like 2 or 3 years from now is a big gray area.
And I know this doesn't hold up across the country, but the average mortgage is $400,000. So if you're a subprime borrower, getting an extra % on your mortgage, it's not going to help as much. It still help, but that's still a significant payment that a lot of people cannot handle.
Yeah, well, if you can't afford $400,000, it doesn't matter if it's at 6 or 7. You can't afford $400,000.
Right. Okay. That's exactly right. Okay. So.
All right.
How does it all shake out?
Yeah, well, that's right. So let's touch real quick. We're getting close to our end. We always talk about, and we have for about 2 years now, getting paid to wait. We're trying to be patient. I know people are getting impatient. You hear it a lot from us. So I wanted to touch on that. Give us a quick idea where interest rates are at. Some of the fixed income stuff we're still being able to get access to, and then some of the dividend payers that we're looking at.
Yes. So interest rates are all over the board right now. Every week when we go look, it's a new surprise of what's working and what's not. And I'm talking guaranteed stuff like CDs and treasuries. Lots and lots of movement. This week, CD rates are back up.
Mm-hmm. Look good.
Last week, I think we had 2 that we could get 5%, and they were both callable in July.
Right.
Now we can get 12, 13 months. Even a 3-month treasury, we can get 4.99. So it's 70.7% greater than we could last week. So big movements in interest rates. This week we're going to have a lot of numbers come out. We're going to have a lot of tech companies come out with their earnings. If earnings are good, Fed feels pretty confident what they're doing. The economy's still growing, and we're going to keep going like we have.
Right.
If they don't, then we're going to see. This could be the reversal that we're all looking for from the Fed.
it's back to that good news is bad news, bad news is good news.
Yes, but I think this week's going to be pretty powerful. And where is this economy really, really growing?
Yeah, well,
lots of moving parts.
Well, it's going to be exciting to kind of look at some of that as it unfolds, and of course, we'll make adjustments and trends. We're gonna stay with you guys. We come out each week on this and try to keep you updated with the short stuff. And today's our longer podcast, but we'll know more. Hopefully, we'll get on again Friday or Monday with some updates on some of the things that we see. So stay tuned with us. And again, if you guys have any questions or things that you want to talk about or hear about, let us know.
Yeah,
happy to,
all right,
happy to
we're
share
here.
it. To share it. So, Aaron, before we get wrapped up, any last minute words for us today?
No, sir. Enjoy the springtime.
Yes.
Get out, work in your yard, get some vitamin D.
Got some rain. Should have some flowers.
Got some
blooming.
rain. Spend some time with your loved one. That's really what's important.
That's right. That's right. Well, we appreciate everyone. And Aaron, thanks again for your time today. And that'll wrap up today's episode of Black and White Market Chatter on Life Planning 101.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Smart Money Group and Kennedy Financial Services. If you have questions, you can email them to lifeplanning@kennedy-financial.com. Don't forget to learn how our sister company can assist you with all of your tax, bookkeeping, and consulting needs. You can find out more at briscoeandassociates.com. Be sure to tune in next week for more Life Planning 101. The opinions expressed herein are those of the firm and are subject to change without notice. The opinions referenced are as of the date of publication and are subject to change due to changes in the market or economic conditions and may not necessarily come to pass. Any opinions, projections, or forward-looking statements expressed herein are solely those of the author, may differ from the views or opinions expressed by other areas of the firm, and are only for general informational purposes as of the date indicated. Securities offered through Calton & Associates Incorporated, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Smart Money Group LLC. Kennedy Financial Services and Smart Money Group LLC are separate entities and are not owned or controlled by Calton & Associates Incorporated.